The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is one of the most acclaimed games of all time. It is seen as the foundation for games today. It is commonly referred to as one of, if not the best game of all time. Being a game that was made in the 90s, it may be a bit outdated. That's why in 2011, Nintendo remade the game for the 3DS. The textures were completely redone and some glitches were patched. You would think this version would be the favorite since it's a more stable experience and looks aesthetically better. Unfortunately, this game was forgotten due to it being on the 3DS. That didn't stop the speedrunning community from absolutely demolishing this game. While there's no ace, the speedrun for this game is still amazing. This is Ocarina of Time 3D any percent. The run starts by watching the few-minute long intro. In this game, text can either be normal or fast. If you click the text on the frame it appears, it instantly disappears. This can save a lot of time over the course of the run. Also, the whole purpose of the run is to reach the credits as soon as possible. Everything we do is to prepare for the credits warp. As soon as we gain control of Link, we head to the Kokiri sword. We can now exit the maze and escape Kokiri Forest early. Normally, the game wants you to get a sword and shield and complete the Deku Tree dungeon. We can do a triple slash clip to get past Mido and leave Kokiri Forest early. When you slash your sword quickly 3 times and put it away, Link gets pushed back. We can use this to push Link through Mido. Once we're past him, we can't just go into the loading zone. We have to do a roll at a certain angle to go under Mido when he tries to stop us. We then talk to the owl and backwalk to Hyrule Castle. For some reason, Nintendo made walking backwards very fast compared to going forwards. So whenever we need to go a distance further than a few rolls, backwalking is used. We go through the market to Hyrule Castle and talk to the owl again. We then go to a guard and have him catch us. This wastes time so it becomes day sooner, and it reloads the area so Malon spawns. By talking to Malon, we get a weird egg. Once we're past the guards, we can start to move the crate and wake Talon up with a chicken that hatched from the egg. Then continuing to move the crate so we can jump to the hole. We are now at guards. The guards patrol Hyrule Castle to make sure nobody gets in. We have to dodge their field of view, which can be very annoying sometimes. Technically, by side hopping on the first frame you land, the guards won't notice you. But that many frame-perfect side hops is extremely hard to do, so it's not done. We then go to Zelda to obtain Zelda's letter, and then Impa to learn Zelda's lullaby. After that, we go to Kakariko Village and show the guard Zelda's letter. This makes him open the gate to Death Mountain Trail. We go to Goron City from here. There is a Hess that can be done that saves a few seconds. By getting hit by an enemy and holding a position on the stick called ESS, Link will start moving very quickly. ESS position is slightly past neutral. In Goron City, we go and play Zelda's lullaby to get to Darunia. We get a stick, light it, and take it all the way back to the bomb flowers to open up an entrance to the Lost Woods, so we can come back to Goron City later. Now we need to get to Death Mountain Crater. The intended strat is to go to the Lost Woods and talk to Saria at the Forest Temple. She will teach us Saria's song, which we need to play for Darunia to get the Goron bracelets that allow us to move the statue. We can actually just go through the statue by using a glitch called Heap Nip. Heap is everything stored in the game's memory. By moving back and forth between Goron City and Darunia's room, and then moving Link to a certain spot, it loads and unloads the statue multiple times. This results in the statue's collision staying unloaded. Now we can go right through the statue to reach Death Mountain Crater. Since we are Child Link and don't have the Goron tunic, we will burn in here. We have to quickly move to the exit, which puts us near a Great Fairy Fountain. Normally, you're supposed to have bombs from Dodongo's cavern and can break the wall. We don't have much, so we have to get through the wall a different way. There's a version of the triple slash clip called a rotating triple slash clip. Since triple slash clips require corners smaller than 90 degrees, there's nowhere to do it here. By changing Link's angle while slashing, it's possible to clip him into the wall and go into the loading zone. Playing Zelda's lullaby at the fountain gives us magic, which is essential for later in the run. We then save and quit, so when we reload the save, we are in Link's house. This is known as a save orb. We then head to the Lost Woods. Going right, left, and right, we are at this pond. At the bottom of the pond is a loading zone that takes us to Zora's River. The only issue is that Link doesn't have enough time to get down there. When he dives in the water, he can only go for 3 seconds before needing to resurface. In order to dive deep enough, we would need the silver scale, which lets Link dive for 6 seconds. Instead, we can do a Navi dive to sink to the bottom and enter the loading zone. We face Link a certain way on the right side of the wall and wait for Navi to try to talk to us, which happens 30 seconds after entering a loading zone. We then slash our sword 3 times and press Navi on the 3rd slash. Since 3 slashes and putting away the sword pushes Link back, this does the same thing. Link is pushed into the water, and Navi text box makes him sink to the bottom. We can then quickly move Link to the loading zone before he resurfaces. Once we resurface on the other side, we can play Zelda's lullaby to open the entrance to Zora's domain. Here, we break 2 pots that give a Deku Stick and 5 Deku Nuts. We now need to get past King Zora to access Zora's fountain. The casual way is to first go to the diving minigame and and pay 20 rupees to play it. Once you do that, you can obtain the silver skill as a reward and head to Lake Hylia where you dive down to get the bottle. Then head back to Zora's domain and show King Zora the bottle. He then proceeds to do the infamously slow scoot to move out of the way. This can be easily skipped by going to the corner to the right of King Zora and doing a simple triple slash clip, and then swimming out of bounds into the loading zone. Once we're in Zora's fountain, we need to access the Great Fairy here. Yet again, this Great Fairy cannot be accessed without using bombs to open the pathway. There's also no way to clip inside the wall with what we currently have. Sorta. Spread all over the game, there are invisible collisions that exist. These invisible seams can actually be climbed. Luckily, there's one in Zora's fountain and near the Great Fairy loading zone. First, Link needs to be put in a precise spot, and then we do a spin attack to get him on the seam. Then by throwing a Deku Nut and throwing a spin attack 3 times, Link will gain height. Then, just by side hopping and doing a jump slash, Link will clip through the wall and get into the Great Fairy fountain. Yet again, we play Zelda's Lullaby to awaken the Great Fairy, and now get Farore's Wind. We now have everything we need to perform the credits warp. The only thing that is left is the setup and the warp. After getting Farore's Wind, we save and quit. This save warp puts us back at Link's house again. We then head back to Lost Woods, where we go right, left, and straight. Since earlier we opened up an entrance to Lost Woods from Goron City, we can now go back there to get back to Goron City. Once there, we head all the way to the top and go through the loading zone that leads to Death Mountain Trail. We then go back through the loading zone to set Link's angle. This is the first part of the wrong warp. If you're unaware, Farore's Wind allows you to warp back to a part of a dungeon if you place it in there. It's only able to be used in dungeons though. There's a glitch called restricted items that can bypass this. By going into the item menu and swapping a usable item, like Zelda's Ladder, with a restricted item, like Farore's Wind, there's a single frame where the restricted item becomes usable, and the usable item becomes restricted. Meaning, we can place Farore's Wind in Goron City, even though it isn't a dungeon. For the final time in this run, we save and quit, so we get put in Kokiri Forest when we reload. Wrong warps in this game require 2 things: Farore's Wind placed somewhere, and a blue warp. Blue warps are the exits to dungeons. Once you beat a dungeon boss, a blue warp appears to easily leave the dungeon and progress forwards. Deku Tree is the quickest dungeon to beat with the few items we have. From Link's house, we head to the Deku Tree. By jump slashing into the cutscene, Link gets propelled forward, saving a few seconds. After that, we head into the Deku Tree. There are a number of ways to beat the Deku Tree. Fastest method used in the world record is wild. It starts off by doing a setup right as we enter Deku Tree to get on another invisible seam. Then climbing that seam all the way to the top of the dungeon. Then side hopping to get off the seam. Now there's a second step to get on yet another invisible seam. By climbing this one and side hopping off of it, Link will fall right into the boss room loading zone. It's time to fight Goma in order for the blue warp to spawn. We use a glitch known as Broken Deku Stick to beat Goma in only a few hits. Deku Sticks do the same damage as the Master Sword, so they do double the damage of the Kokiri Sword. By hitting Goma with a Deku Nut, getting very close, and jump slashing with a Deku Stick, we obtain Broken Deku Stick glitch. The Deku Stick breaks on Goma, but it becomes glitched and still usable. By timing 4 hits in a specific rhythm, Goma can be defeated quickly in a single cycle. Now that Goma is defeated, the blue warp spawns. This is the final stretch. The credits warp can now finally be performed. First, do a jump slash into the art container. Then we turn right and perform 2 side hops, but right before Link touches the blue warp, we open the items menu. In Goron City, we performed a trick called restricted items that lets us use Farore's Wind outside of a dungeon. Even though we're in a dungeon, Nintendo specifically made it so Farore's Wind cannot be used in boss rooms. So here, we do another restricted items to use Farore's Wind. Farore's Wind text appears as Link is being warped by the blue warp. We return to the warp when the screen zooms out, and now we are watching the credits. Let's rewind for a second. We beat the first boss of the game, went into the blue warp, and now somehow we're in the credits. It's due to the Farore's Wind that is set in Goron City. Returning to Farore's Wind puts us in Goron City. Going in the blue warp sets off a cutscene flag. During the credits, there's a scene in Goron City. This means when we enter a blue warp and return to Farore's Wind, the game plays a cutscene in Goron City. Since there's no cutscene that would normally play in the game, the credits play instead. This has been Ocarina of Time 3D Any%. Hopefully this clarified some tricks and why we do them. Shout out to Pal62 for some of these clips. Some of these tricks are only performed by top runners, so props to them. If you want to see Run to this live, check out my Twitch channel. Thank you for watching. See ya.